Hello, my name is Adam today, and I am a recovering alcoholic. I'm here to read the Daily Reflections book for August 4th, 2026. It's called The Seeds of Faith. Faith, to be sure, is necessary, but faith alone can avail nothing. We can have faith, yet keep God out of our lives. That's from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book, found on page 34. As a child, I constantly questioned the existence of God. To a scientific thinker like me, no answer could withstand a thorough dissection until a very patient woman finally said to me, "You must have faith." With that simple statement, my seeds of recovery were sown. Today, as I practice my recovery, cutting back the weeds of alcoholism, slowly I am letting those early seeds of faith grow and bloom. Each day of recovery, of ardent gardening, brings the higher power of my understanding more fully into my life. My God has always been with me through faith, but it is my responsibility to have the willingness to accept His presence. I ask God to grant me the willingness to do His will. Period. The end of the reading. So yesterday, I was trying to make a video after a lengthy absence. That probably has something to do with what I'm trying to tell you here. So I tried to make a video yesterday, and it turned into two videos of pretty good length, and then a third video trying to explain the first two videos. And, a long time ago on this channel, well, I don't know how, at some point in the past, I mentioned on this channel that because another day a video was happening where I was just getting all maybe too excited. That'll cover it. And the excitement was coming from because I just wanted to tell you everything I know about recovery from alcoholism. I was feeling very up, I guess. Although I don't have an actual diagnosis of bipolarness or whatever you want to call it technically, where I don't know how much it differs from manic depression, but I was having a very manic day yesterday. And if you bring up the Bengal song, that's on you. But I get like that. And I guess this is rolling around in my head here. I just recently attended my 40th high school reunion. And let's see, was talking with someone. I want to term it as rediscovering an old friend. I think that might cover it. And so this woman tells me something about kind of how I try to go through life. Except for I get manic and I get very excitable sometimes. And I feel as though I need to explain and tell you everything, okay? And she said what she does, maybe not in those circumstances, or in those circumstances, or maybe she doesn't have those circumstances because of this thing that I'm about to tell you. And she said, if I'm remembering correctly, do much often. That's it. Much, often. So, I thought about that, and there's several different ways of putting that. I wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment. I I desperately try to do that in my life, and I've had it, I don't know, demonstrably proven to me to be a very effective way of going through life. Because, if you try and do everything all the time, burnout is a really possibility, is a real possibility. And if you burn out, you're pretty much of no use to anybody until you can recover. If you can recover. So, I thought I had a real good grip on this kind of thing many years ago when I started meditating, because it's kind of the same thing, the meditation. When I sit down to meditate, the part of the monkey mind, or whatever little part of my brain, will be fighting sitting still with any excuse it could come up with. And a lot of the time for me, it's you don't have time for this. You've got all this other stuff that needs to be done right now. And then all these other thoughts that seemingly need my attention immediately. And not only that, they need the full, complete fix right then. So meditation's out. You need to get up out of this chair and go do stuff. So that I fight that pretty much every day. The thing that changes, though, through consistency, is that the more frequently I sit down to meditate at the same time, that's important, is that length of time that I'm arguing with the monkey before I actually relax. And so here, I don't want to get all too far into this, but I think it might have something to do with today's reading, or in a direction I want to take today's reading, about faith, the seeds of faith. And this person in the book today, I think, mentioned two different periods in his life: as a child, and then how did he call it? Today. So as a child, someone said to him, "You must have faith." And then today, as he's doing, or as she's doing, the recovery practice, at least one thing I want to try and pull out of here is, each day of recovery, the higher power of this person's understanding is fuller. I better just read it the way it's written. Each day of recovery, of ardent gardening, brings, that's the word I was missing, brings the higher power of my understanding more fully into my life. And the thing I'm trying to get to, my God has always been with me through faith, but it is my responsibility to have the willingness to accept his presence. I ask God to grant me the willingness to do his will. So okay, I brought up this meditation thing, and being maybe bipolar or manic depressive. I've been checked for this stuff. I am in therapy. I've been diagnosed with other things, bona fide issues. I don't meet all the markers for either manic depression or bipolar disorder, I guess. But I think I'm very close. And so, one thing here, being reminded by this friend from the past and hopefully continued into the future at some point, it is this understanding like the present moment. That's why I brought up the meditation, I think, because if I'm sitting in a chair trying to meditate, I start having anxiety about the future. You need to get this done because, and that because is usually, if I'm not prepared or I'm not ready, then tomorrow's going to be a disaster, something to that degree. So in the present, I'm burning up all this energy and all this, just burning up energy in some manner with something I have little to do with. It's good to be prepared, yes. But when I sit down to meditate, I'm there to meditate, not to worry about tomorrow or yesterday or anything else. Another big thing, sitting down, meditating, a question will pop in here. Am I doing it right? How come it isn't working? Etc. It just goes on and on. And, here's a good fix for that, at least for myself. Yes, you are doing it correctly. If you're sitting there trying to be quiet and control your mind and not think of things, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to start thinking of things. And then these questions, and then all this pressure. None of that is real. And it's natural. And it's designed in your brain your brain is designed to do that. And, this is, at least with alcoholism, for me, whatever all this, whatever need I had for meditation, it was like even greater than most people, whatever that need was. And I tried to fix it with alcohol, and that didn't work. Rarely, I think, does self-medication work. Maybe you're an excellent physician or something, or a medical doctor, or holistic healer, or whatever, and you can just somehow tune into exactly your malady or your shortcomings, and you know exactly what the prescription or the treatment would be. That is possible, thoroughly possible, happens frequently. That's a normal person. Let's call them that. Call them that. Some people, they just the book tells us this. Alcoholics Anonymous, big book. It tells us this, that intuitively we begin to understand, the sphere of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. That can be found on page 84 in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. People call it part of the ninth step promise. That's close enough. So I bring that up again because it mentions something loosely associated with faith. That you're going to do some action and get some result on the other side of it. Using faith, that if I do this, I should get this. That can be, let's see, a slippery slope. I dislike that term. I think it's apt, though. That having too much expectation can be I think that's the slippery slope, is expectation or expectations. Because if you don't have the correct information on any issue, and then you start basing a thesis on that, and then you run the experiment, and the result comes back in an unexpected way, it can be shocking. It can be damaging. It can be joyous also. Placing too much confidence in an expectation can be very harmful. So if you're apt to have, anger issues, let's say, or if you're apt to be anxious, like I am, and when I have an expectation of something and it doesn't fulfill itself in the way I thought it would, it's disappointing, sure. Sometimes it's much worse than disappointment. I feel personally cheated out of some things sometimes.